All right, we're in section 5.7. We'll put question 48 here. Question 48. An aircraft is loaded 100 pounds over maximum gross weight. So the airplane can only hold, let's say, X amount, but this plane is actually 100 pounds over the X amount of what the plane can hold. Excuse me, 110 over what the plane could hold. So we need, so it says here, if fuel gasoline is drained to bring the aircraft weight within limits, how much fuel should be drained? So we need to figure out how much fuel needs to be drained in order to get to the X weight. So one way to do that is, what they were asking for is not to, or what they're asking here is to drain the fuel to the expected per weight. So what is given, or what should be given, is we know that 6 pounds equals 1 gallon. So 1 gallon of fuel. So we need to remove 110 pounds of fuel. So how many gallons would that be? Well, we just have to divide to figure out what it is. So we have 100 pounds. And we have the conversion factor is 1 gallon per 6 pounds. So all we have to do is to divide. 6 goes into 100 after we do the math. 18.4 gallons after we do the math. So if we remove 18.4 gallons, our plane should be at proper weight. Next, question 49 is same principle. We have an aircraft that's X weight and it's 90 pounds over. So we need to get that out. So we know we need to remove the fuel. That equals 90 pounds. So we can use the conversion factor. We know that 1 gallon equals 6 pounds. And here we need to get rid of 90 pounds. So after we do the math, 6 goes into 90, 15 pounds, right? So we just have to multiply the top row. So we're left with 15 gallons needs to be removed. And that's the answer for 49. Question 50. We have to do some math here. All right, so we're looking for the center, the CG is located how far aft of the datum. So the first thing is we have to do all this multiplying. So for the empty weight, they already did the first row for us, which is great. So we don't have to worry about that. Let's do the second row. So we have 380. Basically, we are multiplying the weight times the arm, right? And that will give us the moments. So that's the first thing we have to do. All right, so let us work it out. So 380. So we have 380 times 640 is about 24,000 Let me make this bigger. It will be 24,320. Now fuel. So we have the same situation. We want the fuel in pounds. Well, we know that what's given is 1 gallon equals 6 pounds. So we just have to simply multiply by 6, right? Or you could use the factor. We have 30 gallons, right? And we know that 1 gallon equals 6 pounds, right? And so these cross out. So 3 times 6 is 18. So we're left with 180 pounds. So we can put that here, 180. 180 times 90 gives us 17,280. Then after just getting that, we need to tally the weight column and the moment column. And after tallying these two sums, we need to divide them. All right, so let's tally this column first. So when we add them all together, we're left with 2,055. And then when we tally the moments column, we're left with 193. 193. The decimals are all zero, so I didn't add them there. Next, all we have to do is divide. So how many times does 193,193 go into 2,000? Excuse me, it's the other way around. How many times does 2,055 go into 193, 193? Right? So we could write it different ways. We could do 193 over 2,055, or you can do 193 divided by 2,055. After you do the math, you will come out with the quotient of 94.01, and that is the answer. All right, next question is 51. The same procedure. So we need to multiply. This question is a little bit detailed. It involves a lot of steps. So let's figure this out. So there's no ATM, so there's nothing that needs to be multiplied. Instead of the, there's no arm. So instead of using an arm to factor, we have this graph next to us to assist us, but we still have to fill in the data. So let's fill in the data first. So let's read the discussion, and we'll work along with the discussion. To find the maximum amount of fuel this airplane carry, the empty weight is 1350. We have that here. The empty weight is 1350. We see that. All right, 1350. Pilot and front passengers, excuse me, the pilot and front passenger is 340. Okay, that's given. Rear passenger 310, yes. And baggage 45, great. And oil. Oil is not given in the book, but we have to look at the chart. Now when we look at the chart, and I'll zoom it in, when we look at the chart, oil is given here. It gives us everything for the oil. It tells us oil is 15 pounds per 8 quarts. So we're lucky because, we're lucky because this is exactly 8 quarts. So we don't have to do any math. We can just jot down, I'll do this in color. We can just jot down 15 as well. And it does another great added feature. It gives us what it is, the moment. And the moment 0, negative, is a negative 0.2. All right, so that's given to us, which is great. We do need to calculate fuel because that's a part of the weight of the aircraft as well. So we'll calculate that later, but that needs to be calculated as well. Right, we need the weight and the moment, the moment for that. All right, so let's see, let's continue on. 15 with the discussion, 15 for a total of 4, etc. All right, so in order to find out what is the fuel, we first need to tally up these numbers to tell us what our weight is, because we know, looking at here, the fuel limits, or the weight limits rather, is 2,300. That is our limits. All right, so when we add up the rest of the weights, we'll know how much weight we can carry for fuel. So once we tally those numbers given, we are left with 2060. Now looking at the graph, we know our max load is 2,300. So we just subtract them from each other, and we should know how much fuel we can carry. And after subtracting it, did I do it right? 2060, hold on. And the fuel is 2,300, yes I did. Is 240 pounds. Yes. All right. So the weight for this is 240 pounds. That's great after we do the math. Now, the next thing is, since each, all right, we know that, excuse me. Let's continue reading. Thus, for 240 pounds of weight is available for you. Since each gallon of fuel weighs 6 pounds, the airplane can carry 40 gallons of fuel. That is correct. But it is not asking for that, but the question is asking for that problem. Yes, that is correct. So where did they get that factor? When we look at here, it says this, excuse me. Let's read the factor again. So we know that we have, come over here, we have 240 pounds. And we know that, let me write it in maybe a different color. The question is asking how many gallons can be actually allowed. So we know that 240 gallons, right? And our factor is what? We know that our factor is Our factor is 6 pounds per gallon. excuse me, it's, I wrote that incorrect, is there's, I made a mistake. This is 240 pounds, excuse me. And we know that, oh, 1 gallon equals 6 pounds. There we go. So after we do the math, 6 goes into 240, 40 pounds. So 40 gallons. So we know technically, although this is 40 pounds, I'll write that there, LBS, this is actually 40 gallons. All right. So actually, we could solve the answer with that without even looking at the moments. But let us practice using the moment as well, filling out the chart and coming out with the answer. So the pilot and front passenger. So we come here to figure out what the pilot and front passenger is. The pilot and front passenger is 340 is the weight. So we'll maximize this and try to find 340. Oh, the lines is not clear. Well, for demonstrating purposes, it's fine. All right, I'll use a different color. So 340 more or less is about this. Oh. It's about here. So we're doing pilot and front seat passenger, which comes out to be more or less here. All right, then we have to go down to figure out what our moment is. So we go straight down, trying to get as straight as possible. It's here. That's not 14. That looks more or less 13. So we would write that here, 13. The book says 12.8, so we'll write 12.8. All right, the next thing we should find is the rear passengers. That's 310. So let's go up here, find our rear passengers. That's at 310. All right. So looking at that, 310 rear passengers. So that's maybe about 310. We go all the way to our rear passenger and then go down. All right, and that gives us about 23 here, but I guess on a straight edge, it's will be 22.5. That's what the book says. So we'll put this as 22.5. Then for the next one is our baggage. Baggage is 45. All right, we'll put that in yellow. Baggage is 45. So 45 is below 50. And we have to go to our baggage, which is about right here. That's not straight. So baggage to me looks about 4. And the book says it is 4. So we'll put 4. Right, now last is the 240 pounds. All right, how to figure out this 240 pounds of fuel. I believe same thing, we go over here. Fuel is 240. So let's write that. 240 is about here. We go to fuel, which is about here. And we go down. And that's about between 12 and 11. And the book says it's 11.5. So write that here. 11.5. Now, we're not asking for the CG, but if we needed to find the CG, in this case, if we had to find the CG, it would be the moment. It will be the moment divided by the weight, or the weight into the moment. All right, and that would give us the answer. So if we're looking for center, it would be the moment divided by the weight, or moment over weight. All right, that would give us the answer if we were looking for the CG. So back to the question, it says, what is the maximum amount of fuel? Well, the maximum amount of fuel is 40 gallons or 240 pounds. And that's the answer for C. So that concludes, I believe, that section. Next is 5.8.